welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I'm feeling particularly fighty this week.
Them's fighting words.
It's on! So we're just going to spend the rest of the episode doing idle fighting game animations, right?
Yeah, it's good television.
Yeah, it is.
But Mortal Kombat X recently came out, and that's what we've all been playing, brushing up on our Mortal Kombat 9 skills, which we imported.
Became US citizen.
Yes. But also we've got All Game Plus, having a look at the older Mortal Kombats and the controversy surrounding them.
And my goodness, there are so many controversies. I have barely any time to go through all of them.
Yes, and we have an R18 rating now, so we can enjoy the gore and the fatalities and the brutalities.
If you're over 18 and are a responsible adult, of course.
Yes, of course. But we also have Japanese fighting games in this.
Yes, including UNIEL and Arcana Heart. Now, Tim, how do you remember the title for Arcana Hearts?
Because Arcana's a Dota 2 item.
And that's your Dota 2 reference of the week, kid. We also travelled to Supernova, which was recently held in Melbourne. We talked to Sean Maguire, the Robin Hood from Once Upon a Time.
And poor Sean, having all those fanfic writers not happy with him for ruining their fanfics.
Good.
Terrible.
You mean people on the internet were angry at an actor?
Yes.
Please, do go on. Please tell me more.
But we do have more from the Supernova event coverage in our episode, so look forward to that as well.
Yes, we've got a jam-packed episode this week, so let's just get straight into it. Let's start with the review of UNIEL.
Now, while it hasn't exactly been the rebirth of the anime game, it has been, I guess, the expansion of the anime game into Western audiences. And finally we have Under Night, In Birth, Execute Late. Or UNIEL, because
UNIEL.
I'm not saying that again.
From this point on.
Yeah. So it's UNIEL from this point onwards, because I'm not saying it. But I guess UNIEL is probably the most true of the anime pedigrees.
And that's really fitting because it's actually created by the crew that created Melty Blood, which was one of the original fan-made, so Doujin-style fighters that actually got official recognition from the franchise that was actually based on. And it had an anime, and it had all sorts of things sort of expand from that and became true canon. So they're royalty in terms of anime fighters, and for them to finally release a mainstream project after what has been at least 5 years, even longer, a lot of people had high expectations. And yeah, generally speaking, I think it's actually come out really, really well.
And so I guess for a lot of it, it carries a lot of mechanics over from Melty Blood. It's definitely Melty Blood skeleton underneath it all. But I think the cast of characters and the way that each character kind of works is interesting enough to separate it from Melty Blood.
Yeah, in a big way. And like it's a very aggressive game as well. So they've put a bit more emphasis on attack and sort of moving forwards, whereas Melty Blood was a very defensive game in comparison. If nothing else, it's interesting that they've got a cast of anime characters that aren't just straight, lolicon or using umbrellas.
Each of them look pretty lethal. Like they could generally distribute the damage you see them distribute. So and that's what I think one thing we should mention as well is the grid system. So basically, depending on how aggressive or how many of a particular action you take, you build up grid, and then you can then convert that into meter, use that for Roman cancel. Well, it's not called Roman cancels, but same thing.
Cancels.
And it's a really important third kind of meta mechanic over the top of the existing fighting.
Yeah, that's it. And it is what separates it from the other fighters, and I think it's what will give it the edge in the long run, besides just its pedigree.
Now, continuing with the continuing trend of anime games that have come out recently, Arcana Heart. Now, another darling of the anime fighter scene. This one is, I guess, probably, I wouldn't want to say the most wacky. If I had to describe it in any way, it would be the most wacky, both in the list of characters and in, I guess, just the general feel of the
tone
game.
of it. Yeah, like I think it's the most anime fighter of all the anime fighters. Like this sort of fulfills all those cliches. It's got bunch of young girls, everyone's got a wacky weapon, all the fighting's over the top. But even though everything seems in excess, it's actually a pretty conservative game. Like combos are very tight and make a lot of sense. The pursuit mechanic, so the special gimmick button of the game, has a very straightforward thing. It lets you move forwards, but it can cancel things as well. And like, even though everything is over the top, you have to play in a way that is quite careful and considered. You
Well,
know?
and I think, speaking of that as well, I think basically every major trope of fighting game characters, in the sense that how they all handle differently, different mechanics, things like that, I think they basically all exist in this game. Every single character nearly represents a particular style.
That's right. So from every sort of fighting game that you can think of. So it means that even if you're coming from Street Fighter, Marvel, any of the sort of more traditional 2D fighters, you'll be able to play characters in this just because they're very clear XPs of those sort of roles. And I mean, it's a very straightforward strength for the game. On top of that, it's got a very cute, albeit very anime storyline. So, you know, mileage may vary on that one, but you know, it has its place on the scene. It's been on the scene for a long time, and I'm pretty sure it's going to stay there.
Well, the only thing I would say as well is that the art is probably a little bit dated for what it is, but realistically, I still think it looks really nice in consideration.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a doujin fighter at heart, I suppose, isn't it?
So,
Hello.
howdy.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, have there been any good movies lately, or did I just make that too obvious a segue?
It is the movie segment. So we are talking about movies.
Yes.
So that's relevant.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
One thing we've been discussing before, and I think this is your chance to finally convince me to see a Fast and Furious movie after Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
Because there's a new one, isn't there?
Well, first of all, I'm not a huge Fast and Furious fan. I've seen most of them because they're kind of fun films to see. But I'm not sort of the person who's like, it's the best franchise ever. Because if you're thinking best, like, guilty pleasure franchise, it should be Final Destination.
Yes. And I mean, even then, even Resident Evil to an extent, as far as I'm concerned.
No. But Fast and Furious, the new one's just come out. It's the last one, we hope, because Paul Walker died. Spoilers.
Yeah. No, that was real life. That's not spoiling.
spoilers.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. People follow celebrities. Maybe people aren't, you know, up to date.
Yeah, yeah.
But so it's potentially the last one. Hopefully they don't ruin it. But yeah, the new one's just come out, and I really, really enjoyed it.
So why? Why this over the other ones?
James Wan directed it.
Okay,
so
that's
people
cool.
would know him from Saw or Insidious and some other sort of movies. So it's visually, it's great.
Yeah.
There's really great camera stuff. He's obviously having a lot of fun with the budget.
Well, this will be the first time, the first real time that he's had
a huge
have
budget.
$150 million. Do what you want.
Yeah, it still has all the ridiculous sort of stuff you would have in, you know, in a Fast and Furious film. It's like the cars are characters. It's over the top.
Right.
At some stage in the franchise, they became super agents and could fight and everything like that, rather than just drive cars.
So do I go and see it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's fun. It's silly. It's over the top. It's really great camera stuff, which people who maybe didn't study film won't appreciate as much as I did, but it's still awesome.
All right. Do you know what I watched while you were away?
I do, because we were discussing it before.
That's true. I watched The Punisher. Now, the Thomas Jane Punisher, of course, because he was originally slated to be in the original one, which is
a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I have also seen this.
Okay, I genuinely think it's probably one of my favorite Marvel movies, and I say that with absolutely...
Because this is before the age of Marvel.
Yes, the recent
films.
push. Yeah, so it's gritty, it's dark. John Travolta's great as the enemy.
Which is something you don't normally say.
I can't remember the last time I saw John Travolta was great in anything. Thomas Jane's really, really good and really, really underutilized in a lot of other things that he's in. But, I don't know, I still think it holds up today.
But it's not the best Punisher film. The best Punisher film is Dirty Laundry, the short film Thomas James unofficially did about the Punisher.
Film student, you say?
It's better than the actual feature film.
Right. Well, speaking of Thomas Jane, though, and see how I did that? That was another segue.
This man has talent.
We have a giveaway for you. Copies of Vice, thanks to the Becker Group. They are giving us 10 to give away. It's got Bruce Willis, Thomas Jane, a few other people
It's like a sci-fi action film.
The vibe, yeah.
Yeah. So to win, what you need to do is send us an email or on our Facebook, Australian Residents Only. Tell us your favourite Bruce Willis film. Do you have a favourite?
I do. I would probably say Sin City or Breakfast of Champions.
I would say Planet Terror. So tell us, 25 words or less.
Welcome to All Game Plus, and the other people on the show have been playing a lot of MKX at the moment. It's
very popular game at the moment. Just came out in the last week.
pretty full on and violent and gory.
Yeah, so we thought we'd go back and have a look at Mortal Kombat and where it's taken the game industry.
Well, if we go back right to the start, back in the early 90s, there was a real moral outrage. There was
Very much. And it's so much moral outrage that the government got involved.
Yeah, and in the US they had a congressional hearing, and well, the claim was that, and this is a quote, games like this have almost TV quality graphics, but are overwhelmingly violent, sexist, and racist.
And how things have changed.
Yes, so we've come a long way, haven't we? So,
We have.
But one of the things that came out of that congressional hearing was the ESRB, the ratings board.
The ratings board. So that was formed basically because of that game and another game called Night Trap at the time that were really causing a moral outrage. So basically the games industry in America got together to police themselves over the content of games, and out of that came the ESRB.
Well, they had to do it as somebody else would. I mean, at the time, Nintendo had one view, which was the family view, which was the blood was green and it was sweat and so on. And Sega had the other view,
where not changing the game at all and
a
everything.
little bit of yelling at each other,
yes.
blaming each other for it. But the ratings board was probably a good outcome. We got a similar thing in Australia as well around a similar time.
And the whole world basically followed suit as well.
Now, Mortal Kombat 2 came out. That was a bit better received as far as panic goes. In Germany, they confiscated all the games.
Yes, and the ban ran out though 10 years later. So in 2005, you could play legally in Germany. You could play Mortal Kombat 2.
I'm sure they would have been wrapped. The graphics would have looked awesome.
Yes,
So,
TV quality.
But if we skip forward, I mean, we got ratings out of that. We skip forward a lot later to when Mortal Kombat 9 came out. And here in Australia, we were pushing for an R18 plus
At the time,
Yeah, and the R18 plus didn't come quick enough for Mortal Kombat to be
classified. So because it wasn't classified, it couldn't be. We didn't have an R rating to classify it. It wasn't able to be sold. But there was other ways to get it.
Everybody seemed to have a copy.
Yeah.
So as it happens these days, but it does seem though that and we got the R18 plus, but it does seem like a lot of controversies like the moral outrage over Mortal Kombat and other things that go on seem to be rooted in the idea that we're all a certain demographic.
Yes.
Gamers are all a certain type. Now we come to Mortal Kombat or MKX.
Yeah. And the games have grown up. They've gotten more brutal, more violent. The people that play them have grown up. The industry's grown up. So
the moral outrage was this. We didn't have any congressional hearings this time, so we have made a big improvement. But,
but over the journey, Mortal Kombat has been a litmus test for the whole industry, and it's brought the industry with it.
Well, over 20 years of Mortal Kombat, big changes. Enjoy MKX if you can. It's really come a long way in that time.
So, Sean Maguire.
Yes.
What is it like to be hated by every lesbian fan of your show?
Brilliant question. Do you know what? It's been a bit of a weird journey with that because I started off, I've played gay, a lot of my best friends are gay, and I've always been an advocate for equality and things like that. And at the beginning of the show, when I wasn't with Regina, I got a lot of love from gay fans and stuff, and then I guess somewhere around Robin and Regina starting to date, the tide turned a little bit. But the thing is, I've got a lot of friends who are lesbians and are gay, some of them very, very close to me. And they, when I've sort of told them about this, they're like, well, that doesn't represent us. There's a minority that will hate me no matter what I do.
Definitely.
And the thing is, to try and appease those people really only gives it traction. So I think most people that are real fans of the show, and anybody that's ever read my interactions on Twitter, maybe with one or two exceptions, kind of get a sense of who I am.
Okay. Well, Robin's pretty damn awesome.
I like him. I think he's cool. Maybe...
He's in a bit of a bind, though, at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, people that don't like me personally or don't like Robin, obviously are going to sort of say, well, he spent the night with Regina when his wife was still married. Yes, that's true. He is not a perfect guy.
But true love is like a thing. It
Yeah,
seems to
also,
matter.
he was married and his wife died and, he mourned her and then he fell in love and started a relationship. Then she came back and it's a very unusual, unorthodox situation. So it's difficult for him But the thing is, I think people are sort of thinking that I defend Robin and say, well, all of his actions are defensible. They're not. He's a fallible human guy, just like I am, and I may have said some things that maybe pissed people off. But to be honest, I know what I want, and I think Robin knows what he wants. And both of us are imperfect, and both of us are going to end up where we end up, whether people win, love, or hate us. So we just have to kind of throw the dice and let the chips fall where they may be.
But he's Robin Hood. Like, even if he is not a fox, like, he's still pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, I was talking to somebody downstairs, one of the other actors, and we were talking about, you know, interactions on Twitter and things like that. And it's just, sometimes there are some people I think that don't even particularly hate a group or a person, but their friends do, and you're kind of like, oh, it's like supporting a football team. It's like, all right, I'll join in. And it's easily done. We're easily coerced sometimes.
Actually, that really sums up fandom. It's just football teams.
Sort of, you know, and sometimes, you know, I support Tottenham Hotspur, but I don't really cry if they lose on a Saturday. But
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
What are you doing? Bro, come on, let's get him. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You got this. Yeah! There we go. They wanna get mine. They wanna get mine.
Who would have thought in 2015 we'd not only have a new Rock Band game, but also a new Guitar Hero game? Tim, you're shaking your head.
No, this is a game genre that I think is better left buried.
Oh, no. Where is your childhood sense of whimsy, Tim?
It's in the attic gathering dust, the multiple $100 plastic instrument sets.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
So I take it you're not a believer then in Guitar Hero Live?
No, buying the instruments, having the whole set and barely ever using it, even with all the games that I had to go with them. Rock Band was obviously the better of the two when it came down.
Of course.
Well, when it came down to it. So I think when it comes down to it, the set lists are what makes the game.
And the set
and it's
list
a good
is-
party game, but beyond that, nah.
What about the full motion video aspect of this, of performing live for a stadium full of your adoring fans who, why did they come to boo you?
Yes, that's exactly why. It's the second best band in the world. Why did they come to boo us? So I don't know. It seems very cheesy, and I think the better aspect of it is having the music videos there rather than having that live
I'm
audience.
actually
thing.
looking forward to the live audience aspect of it because I can just imagine like getting this massive stage fright or something like that as this crowd of thousands decides to boo me. So it's just like graduation all over again.
Now, it must be said, the next game we're going to talk about is probably the most hyped fighter, I would say, in the Australian gaming scene. That's not just the fighting game scene, that's the wider gaming scene. And that, of course, is Mortal Kombat X. So Mortal Kombat, obviously the long-running franchise, they finally got to the point where they can chuck a 10 on the end and reasonably say that that's a thing. It's interesting that it's built on from MK9. Like there was a lot of things they did in MK9 that they've carried over into this. All just comes down to how well they've done it.
Yeah, that's right. And like this is one of those games that because they've put so much hype into it, they've had the lead-in campaign, they've had videos, they've had people doing speeches and YouTube videos and etc. that the payoff is important for them. It's clear they're making a big push into the fighting game community. They're representing themselves at a lot of these events now.
BAM7.
BAM7. And, you know, it is about the payoff. And it's interesting to see that in a sort of pure fighting game sense, I think that there has been a lot of positives. But the rest of the package, which was always a big part of what the reboot was about,
Correct.
has become a very contentious issue for a lot of people.
And that is genuinely it. I think as a fighting game, it looks schmick, the presentation is there. Some of the changes they've made to the actual fighting itself, like being able to pick one of 3 styles, like
for each character.
Yeah. So instead of picking one of 3 specials, like we've done for Capcom games for many years and things like that, you literally pick one of 3 styles, which gives you access to certain super moves, gives you access to certain combos, certain abilities, stuff like that. And I think it really adds a level of versatility to the game that it may have been lacking previously.
That's right, yeah. And it means that certain characters can have a bit more flexibility. You don't get stuck with, you know, the green arrows.
I've got no range option. Like,
exactly.
Basically, it eliminates things like that. On the flip side of that, though, MK9's story was great. It was pretty well told. It gave you a good chance to play everyone, feel them out, like learn all the new characters. This game introduces 7, 8 new characters.
A lot.
Do you give a crap about any of them?
I can remember one of their names. No, I can't.
Yeah. I like the cowboy because he's a cowboy. And that's basically the crux of this story. They don't explain these people. They don't make you feel for them. They just exist. And then they try and tack it on to the end of MK9's story. It's a mess. Yeah. It's enjoyable if you want to try the new characters and test them out, but even then, you're better off going to training.
But it is worth noting that it is very well choreographed and it's quite entertaining to watch.
Yes.
So from a pure popcorn perspective, and for someone like me who's come into it not knowing the previous story, I enjoyed it, albeit invested nothing into it.
Correct. So I guess when it comes down to it, the fighting is still there in spades. They've improved it, if anything. It's not quite as cheap and spammy as it was. The story is a bit meh. The crypt is back. The towers, which is your arcade mode, are still good, and they've got updatable towers that come up every week. As a non-MK fan, what do you reckon?
This is the first game by NetherRealm that has actually made me want to play it and get involved with the community. So definite plus there. But as a single player experience, depends on your internet connection, I would say.
That's true.
Now, I've always been a Scorpion player.
How have you?
Because it's honestly easier to play Scorpion.
Fair enough.
It's easier to hit those combos.
Just press the button to win. Press the win button over and over again.
Yes, pretty much.
But you like Mortal Kombat, don't you?
I'm really digging Mortal Kombat X so far. So, I don't know, it's followed on from Mortal Kombat 9 very well, and the gore has just stepped up a notch.
Totally. But there are some people that haven't been too excited about aspects of Mortal Kombat, particularly the DLC, because you can use your microtransactions to either unlock all the equipment and stuff in the crypt, or you could even purchase tokens for easy fatalities online. It should be granted that you can easily access all of this just by progressing in-game, but there's also this time-saving option to just buy everything up front.
And I think I'm okay with this because it's the developer that isn't taking things out of the game to sell it as DLC.
Yeah.
It's them making money off people who don't want to play their game. So people that just want to skip a bit of the grind, I'm okay with that. It doesn't give an unfair advantage online, or easy fatalities is people who don't want to be bothered reading up what their fatalities are, and I'm okay with this.
It's too hard to press start, go to move list, and check out the 3-4 button combination, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a great way for the developer to earn extra money on people that are willing to spend it for saving time.
So it's a convenience thing, really.
Yes.
But that's not the only fighting game action that we have going on at the moment. Soon we will be in Battle Arena Melbourne season.
Yes, so that's coming up May 22 to the 24th.
Yes.
So look forward to that. You can find out info online. Check out the Couch Warriors Facebook for all the details. But we'll be there, we'll be streaming, having fun playing games.
And so I believe we should just wrap things up now, shouldn't
we? So visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook at New Game Plus TV.
Follow our Twitter and Instagram at New Game Plus TV.
And subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch, also at New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next week.